Welcome back to Tiger's Garage. First things first, little story time. I've been trying to register Stinkbug basically since the week that I brought it home, it's been over a month. Been to the licensing office a couple times. The state is taking a little bit of an issue with the lack of ownership documentation because the person I got it from, it was never in their name. The person that he got it from, it was never in their name either. Basically, I can't prove that I didn't steal it. A bill of sale is not enough. Now, if you remember, this truck came from Canada, BC specifically. They don't have titles there, so I don't have one either. I'm trying to get one. How they do it is your insurance document is your ownership document. This truck's been off the road for 40 plus years. I don't have that either. So basically, I cannot prove that I legally purchased it and didn't steal it. I know that, but that doesn't matter. I have to prove that, and I can't. So there's a couple ways around that. The easiest one is a process that's called ownership in doubt. It is where you get the truck inspected by the state patrol, and then you take that, they sign a form, and then you take that form back to the DMV, and then you can get a registration right away, but you don't get a title for 3 years. At any time in that 3-year period, if someone was to contest your ownership, they are allowed to do so, and then you go to court and figure it out. I'm not worried about any of that happening, but it does mean we have to get an inspection. So I've been trying to schedule one of those for just about as long, for about a month. Now, they are incredibly hard to get. It's like a lottery mixed with a game where they don't tell you the rules, but also the rules change all the time. It's super annoying. Long story, somewhat shorter, I finally got one. Stinkbug has an appointment with the Washington State Patrol Monday at 8:30 in the morning, which is exciting, but it's also in a million pieces in the backyard right now. So this was supposed to be part 2 of doing the brakes. It's not. We all of a sudden have a deadline. We got to get wheels and tires on it. We got to get it back on the ground, on the trailer, ready to go Monday morning. Because the other thing, which this is insane to me, I don't know how they can do this. If you don't show up for your appointment or cancel without giving 24 hours notice, for the rest of your life, if you try to make another appointment, they'll cancel it. Like, it's a one and done. I don't know why that rule exists. They're cops. They think they can do that. They obviously can. They do it. So we're at the mercy of them, and this is a I cannot miss it type of deal. So what we're going to do, pause on the brakes, go out there, wheels, tires, get it running, get it on the trailer, strap down, hook to the truck, ready to go. So Monday, I can just leave and go get it inspected, and then hopefully on the way home, swing by the licensing office for the 3rd or 4th time and actually get that green piece of paper that says it is legal in Washington State. Maybe get plates even. That'd be cool. That's a long story. What it means is we're taking a couple steps backwards, basically, right? I'm not going to worry about having brakes. The truck doesn't need to run. It doesn't need to function or even be roadworthy. I called and asked. I made sure. But it does have to be complete, which means like on its own weight type deal. So we got like one stuck drum. That other axle is still apart. We got to stuff that back in there. I'm not going to worry about putting the brakes on, but like if we have to take a drum off, I'll probably throw the wheel cylinder in because we're there. But this weekend's goal, it's currently Saturday, the appointment's Monday. That thing needs to be strapped down to the trailer, ready to rock by the time we finish up tomorrow. So let's go do that. All right, so first things first is we are going to get the drum and axle and everything back on this side and get it buttoned up. You can see that last night, because I had it apart, I went ahead and put a new rear wheel cylinder in. It's not connected to anything back here. We still have to make that line. That'll happen later. Today, like I said, is all about making it a roller again, basically. I have a winch on the trailer. We'll pull it up there. But I do need it to roll. So I got these roughly adjusted. I'm going to pull my glove off. We'll grab the drum and we'll reassemble this side to start. Clean up the inside of this drum just a bit. Then we'll kind of hold it up there and check to see if our adjustment on our shoes is somewhat close. The brakes on these trucks, I think they switched in 54. This is called a Huck style brake. And unlike a Bendix style brake, you adjust each shoe individually. Whoa. Got some power. So we got our drum. Put it on there gently. I think that noise is more the shield rubbing than anything else. So we could use a little more adjustment out on our shoes, which is fine. We will do that later. You can do it from the back. Okay. Now this is a full floater, so it's obviously mostly lubricated with an oil bath down the axle tube, but I did want to put a little grease in it. I don't have the special socket for this, so we're going to do it the redneck way with the screwdriver. I think what they say is 50 foot-pounds, back it off a quarter turn, because these are meant to have a little bit of play in them. Not play necessarily, but they're meant to run pretty free. All right, axle tube coming in. You always want to make sure you leave your axle tubes outside so they can get rained on. Grass should be in the splines whenever possible. You know, oh my God, there's a gasket that goes in there. I forgot it. All right, I'll be back. Okay, we got our gasket in for our axle, which isn't in great shape. It's the original one that sat out here. All right, we're going to run these down. The star pattern. Okay, this side is back together. I already did the driver's side front. That drum was seized on there and I beat on it for 2 days. We're going to go to the other side. I think the other rear drum is fine, so we're not even going to touch it. We're going to work on the passenger side front. All right, we're up here at the passenger side front. I checked. The passenger side rear spins. We're not even going to look at it. This one doesn't. It is seized on there just like the other one, and it must have had a little bit of brake when we were pumping the pedal in last video and stuck the shoes out on this thing, and the cylinder can't return because it rolled. We drove it, right? You remember that? But it certainly don't roll now. So we are going to have to get this apart. I do have, after my adventure with the other side, I broke down, I bought a hub puller tool because I was sweating out here, pissed off, beating on this thing, and it took every bar I had to get it off. So this one should go easier, but we do have to get it apart. We'll pack the bearings that we can get to. Since we have the hub off, we'll put a wheel cylinder in this one, probably the brake hose too. I also apologize. I've been having crazy allergies the past week. So if I sound a little sniffly, just bear with me. The bearings on the other side are actually in pretty good shape, and I don't know if it's cool or I don't even know if it's odd, but these older rigs, they use a ball bearing style wheel bearing instead of like a tapered roller like you'd see like we did on my trailer, or any like the S10 would have a tapered roller. These are ball bearings. So this is my newest addition to the working on old junk starter kit. So how it works is you bolt these 3 arms to the lugs. This thing goes in here and you drive that big screw through it and it pulls it out. We'll get a little squeeze on it and then we'll tighten them down. So that's basically the setup, and then you put this thing on. The intent is for you to be able to strike it with a hammer, but we're just going to pull a little bit by hand. I do see it moving already. Oh my gosh, you guys, you have no idea how much easier this is than what I went through on the other side. I was sweating and swearing. That was worth every penny of the $56, by the way. Oh yeah. Wow, no wonder. Look at it in there. Spider house, cobwebs, brake dust. So listen, I know these spiders are already dead, but they can always be more dead. I don't want any sign of life whatsoever. Also, it's probably good to heat up the asbestos brake lining and then breathe the smoke. I think I read somewhere that Surgeon General said that was the move. So I'm out of my normal brake clean too. So I had to stop at the store and pay almost $8 a can for the CRC brake clean. But let me tell you about the power. This thing gets it done. I don't know if it's worth the extra money, but you could clean brakes from your neighbor's house with this thing. There's a little bit of an explanation on the Huck brake. Okay, common pivot down here, return spring up here, wheel cylinder. The adjusters are on the cylinder here, and you do each shoe individually. Okay, so you spin this adjuster, which I'm sure won't spin because this thing's old. It moves this shoe only. Same for the back. They turn the same direction, which is confusing because from the back side, one way is out, the other way is out when you flip her around. Anyways, it's called a Huck, named after, I assume, the guy that developed them. His last name must have been Huck. Maybe it was his first name. Anyways, that's how these work. A little bit different than a standard drum brake, but there's also less like shit in here, which is kind of nice. So what we're going to do is pop this spring, fold the shoes out, and then we'll hit the pivot point with some spray lube, probably fluid film I used on the other side. It worked pretty good. And we'll pull this wheel cylinder out. Now on the other side, this spring wasn't too wild. Yeah, it's good. And the spring has this little keeper that you just get her out like that. See the pivot? That's how it works. Easy, right? And then this thing should pull out, maybe with a little help. There we go. Whoop. Take the whole thing as a unit. So, believe it or not, a company called Dynamic Friction Company still makes brake parts for this. I got all this stuff from Rock Auto. It wasn't crazy expensive. All right, so anyways, here's what the cylinder's supposed to look like. Bolt holes go down. Feed this through here. You know, honestly, I probably could have all the brakes done and bled before Monday. But I get nervous about putting too much on the plate when I have like a hard deadline, and we're not necessarily in a hurry to get brakes, I guess. So we're not going to risk it. I've done a risk assessment, and it is not worth it. Okay, so now go ahead and cut this zip tie, and I'll kind of show you how these adjusters work. So these are the adjuster screws, right? How it works is you spin this cap and that comes out. But most importantly right now, those slots need to be in such a way that they engage the shoes, such as. Do you see it? Now, the hard part is with two hands, one leg, and holding your tongue just right, you need to get this spring back in here. I think the easiest way, I think I learned some stuff from the other side. I'm going to set it in there like that. I come up on her, one side. Now, you want to do this with your cylinder as retracted as you can get, so you do not have to pull so damn hard on the spring. There we go. That's all that holds it together. Now we want to make a little bit of adjustment because we're fully collapsed, and that's, you see up here, this little bat wing shaped dealio? That kind of holds spring pressure on these so they don't self-adjust. Or like you can count the clicks when you're doing it from the back side. For the initial, I take this off and then these spin real easy. So that's what we're going to do now. And then what you do is you can just turn these. It always takes a minute to, that's the way we want to go. You want your adjustment about the same on both sides. Then you test fit your drum. We're going to slide this on. And we're just going to, we want to make sure our adjustment's not too much. Old bearing going in. Brace. Keyed washer. Probably needs wheel bearings soon. Just wait till you see what we're doing next. We got a roller. So now that these are on, they look pretty shitty. I'm going to church them up a bit with the only can of black paint I have, which is actually header paint, but it is flat black. And I'll show you why in a minute. Do this side now. We don't want to make it look too nice or the cops will think I stole it. Surprise. what you see behind me are the new wheels for Stinkbug. Now, if you remember from an old video, I said I'm taking the split rims off and not putting them back on. I meant that. This is what's going on there instead. Let's walk through them. I will show you how I arrived at these and how we're going to make them work, because they're not an exact fit, but we were able to do a little math and figure it out. So these are what's known as a GM PYO wheel, which is some RPO code that GM uses. But basically, this is what would have came on a HD truck in like 2002, 2003. You've seen them everywhere. I actually don't think they look bad. These ones are dirty. If it stops raining, we might spray them off. I picked these for a couple of reasons. I'm going to go through them right now. One, Stinkbug is a 3/4 ton Chevrolet, just an old one. These came off a 3/4 ton Chevrolet. The other reason we went with these is because for a factory 8-lug wheel, they're fairly narrow. They are 16 inches in diameter, 6.5 inches wide, with a 28 millimeter offset. It's stamped right here on it. You probably can't see it. In the other video, I said we have some interference issues potentially in the front, and that is still true, and I'll show you how we're going to figure that out. These have a 265/75/16 tire on them. 2 of them are actually in really killer shape. The other 2 must have been on the back, and the guy was doing some birdies, which is fine. We're going to probably do the same thing. But these are going to look killer. I'm not going to be able to run the center caps because I don't have the fancy GM lugs that have the external thread on them. So let me explain. Let's do a little wheel math. Okay, it's not hard. Don't be afraid. This is how we're going to make this wheel fit. So here's my notes. Here's my Sharpie. 16 diameter, 6.5 width, 28 is what they call offset. That number is almost always in millimeters. The truck's Canadian. I'm not. That's actually 1.1 inches. So we cover that up. Take this number here is the only one we care about. This is diameter. We know it's going to fit in the hole. Who gives a shit? 6.5 inches wide. If this was a 0 offset wheel, that means the wheel mounting surface would be directly in the center of that 6.5, which is 3.25 inches. That would look like this. 3.25 inches on either side. The offset number is exactly what it sounds like. A positive offset moves the wheel mounting surface out towards the outside of the vehicle, which gives you more material, let's say, on the inside near the frame. So with our 28 millimeter offset, that gives our backspace, which is what this number is called. They're often confused. They're very related. It's saying the same thing different ways. That makes our backspace 4.35 inches, which is too much for the front, because when you put it on there, it hits the steering link. Actually, the wheel doesn't hit, but the tire does. You gotta have tires, so that still is a problem. In the rear, there's nothing to hit. This works fine. In the front, we need to find a way to make this number smaller. Or another way to say that is to make the wheel mounting surface go this way, go negative. If this was a negative 28, we'd be perfect, because then you'd subtract this 1 inch, 1.1 inches from 3.25, and you'd have very little backspace, and it would work great. We have too much. We need to get below 3, basically, to make any wheel fit on the front of this thing. And there's one way to do that, and I will show you how. Enter the Bro Truck 3000 8-lug 2-inch wheel spacer. Now, I know some of you are already shaking your head, and believe me, I kind of am too. But here's what this is going to do for us in the front. It's going to take this 4.35 number and make it 2.35, because we're going to subtract this width, which is 2 inches, from our backspace, because as this bolts to the wheel or the hub or whatever side you want to work with, it is going to effectively decrease your backspace by pushing the wheel farther out towards the fender. That's going to do 2 things for us. One is really important. The other one is not as important. The important one, it's going to minimize our backspace, which is going to make the wheel fit. That is a big deal, especially because we're on such a timeline. The other thing is it's going to make it look cool, right? It's going to push the wheel out to the fender. It's going to have a little bit wider stance in the front. It's going to look better than sunken in. Now, why did I go this big? I went this big for one reason and one reason only. And that reason is because I only had one shot. I had to order these. I didn't have the wheels, but I knew they were probably going to hit, so I had to guess and order a spacer. And if I was going to guess, I wanted to be real safe. I knew 2 inches would be plenty. 1 inch probably would have made it work, but if I got it here and the tire was super ballooned and it still rubbed, I was screwed. Couldn't get it, wouldn't roll on the trailer. So these probably aren't staying on there forever, but they are going on there for the inspection just so we can get it on the trailer. Now, wheel spacers aren't wheel bearings' favorite things, and if you recall, we have 75-year-old wheel bearings. It might wear them out, especially since I think they're questionable already. But what it is going to do is the goal for this week, which is get that thing on a trailer and get it to the State Patrol office in 2 days. So how these work, you guys probably know this. Basically, it's 8 on 6.5 twice. These ones bolt to the factory studs. These ones bolt to the new wheel. It basically makes your hub thicker, and that's how you get your bag space. So we're going to go slam these on the front. I got new lug nuts. We'll use a little bit of Loctite. And then we'll come back and we'll grab the wheels for the front. We'll put them on, put the rears on, and we'll get the thing on the ground and see how it looks. I'm quite excited to see it. You don't see a lot of these trucks with this style wheel. I've looked. I couldn't find any. It may be because you have to run a wheel spacer. I'm not that worried about it, to be honest. I wouldn't run like a slip-on spacer or something like that, probably. Now, I know it's a different application, but in my Pro Drift car, we run 1-inch wheel spacers in the rear all the time. We'll stagger them, slip them on, slip them off to affect track width, and if the track is banked or whatever. And now that car gets wheel bearings once a season, so maybe it's not the best use case or the best example, but I've never had a failure that I can attribute specifically to wheel spacers. Is 2 inches a lot? Yes, it is. Do we care? No, we don't. We might run it forever like this, or if we get it on there, we'll measure how much clearance we have. If I could take an inch out of this, I'll buy 1-inch spacer. That would make the moment on the bearing less, and that would be good. These also affect things like scrub radius, track width, obviously. There's some handling, either positives or negatives, depending on what you're trying to do. None of that matters in this truck. Every bushing's rotted out. It makes fucking 17 horsepower. Like we don't really care about the performance aspect of the wheel spacer in this application. So we are going to take a bit of precaution with these and put a touch of blue Loctite on the factory studs, which are going to hold. That's what the spacer itself is going to bolt to. We're not going red because we're not convinced that these are not coming off. Basically fit on there like that. We're going to go around and start all these by hand. We're going to run around with this low-powered ratchet just to kind of get everything happy. All right. Now, I think, if I'm careful, probably put that bar right there and adjust the lug nuts so I'm not pushing on the threads and actually get a torque wrench on these. All right, here we go. Going in. Oh, yeah. They're perfect. Let me suck this down and I'll show you the reason we had to run such a spacer. These are gonna look killer. I can't wait to see it on the ground. All right, there it is. First look at the new shoes for Stinkbug the Chevy. That looks pretty good. I think it's gonna totally change the look of the truck. So real quick, while we're down here, let me show you why we had to run a spacer. See right here where my finger's at? That's the clearance issue. See how this is maybe an inch? If we didn't have that 2-inch spacer, we'd be into this tie rod. And that's the whole reason. Now the wheel itself, if you ever do this, the wheel itself would probably fit. Probably clear that. But with the balloon on the tire, it rubs. And sometimes you got to be careful if you're running real tight. You have to check it where the wheel weights are or take them off. We're leaving them because we got all the clearance in the world now. But what this tells me is right now we're fine. And if I go to a narrower tire up here, that's going to make this better. And then I might be able to go to a 1-inch spacer. I don't know if I'll ever get away from the spacer, but I might be able to go to less spacer. But for now, this is our setup. and it's going to look killer. Let's do the other side. Look at our track width too. Now, being a beam axle, I don't think it's going to camber out with weight on it much at all. I think we'll still be able to turn. All that, not important. We'll figure it out later. Let's do the other side. Manual steering with these big wide tires up front probably isn't going to be the greatest thing in the world either. What are you going to do? All right. Let's do the rear and get this thing on the ground. Have a look at it under its own weight. This one here, if it rubs, it'll just clearance itself. All right, we got new lug nuts for the rear. The other thing I think this is going to do for us is get us away from that issue we had where you can't get the wheel and tire package off without jacking the box up and stuff. It's still going to be close, but these will sneak in there a little better. Yeah, no spacer back here, or you'd be rubbing in the body. I gotta torque these before I get too excited, but let's walk around it. That should have lowered it a little bit too. Only like half an inch probably, but oh yeah. That looks so much better. Miles of clearance. All right, now I think what we're gonna do is hook up the battery and see if it'll pull fuel. Now, if you remember, I posted a short the other day. I was all excited about running from the tank. Turns out the tank leaks. I came out here a couple days later. The yard smelled like gas. It had leaked out like 2 gallons, I think 2.5. I put 5 in it. So I've got a different fuel system rigged up to a jug in the bed. It's got a lift quite a ways. I don't know if it's going to do it. We'll connect here and turn our key on and see. Dive down here and see if it's pulling any fuel. Oh yeah. All right, cool. Now I think the plan is we're going to hop in, still with no brakes, but rolling better, which makes me nervous. We're going to try to get this over there so I can get the trailer I want and get this thing loaded. Man, it is hot in here. Let's see if she'll start. Absolutely. Oh, it wanted a little choke. Let it warm up a bit. Hopefully I'll put this thing through the house. Go. Little cold one. Oh, my door's open. There we go. All right. I'll let this run for a little bit, maybe. I might just shut it off. And we got to go get the truck and trailer hooked up. All right, so we're going to get hooked up here and spun around, and then we'll load the truck onto the trailer and probably disconnect until Monday. A little bit more. I never trust the camera, but it's also never wrong. So my plan is to drive the truck kind of in the neighborhood, and then I'll winch it up because of the whole no brakes thing. The interesting part is going to be the battery I use, and that is the same battery I use for my winch. So we'll have to do a little hot swap on the battery before we get going, but that'll be okay. I hope this winch will pull it. I think it will. It rolls better now. All right, I'm gonna go hop in and drive over here. Am I straight? I hope so. But I don't have brakes. Let's have a look at that. It's not straight at all. I think I can get it over with the winch. And for a quick battery swap. Okay, disco on that. Here we go. Let me bring you guys in here and show you my patented winch box. Okay, so here's the story on the winch box. I wanted a winch on this trailer, but I didn't want to lose any deck space by mounting like a toolbox to hold the winching equipment. So I came up with this solution, which is a self-contained box for a battery, the relay, and everything, to where when you need to winch something up, you just hook this up. I'll show you how we do it. Negative, positive, and we come over here and we grab our leads, yellow and blue, color coded. You connect them up real quick. You set the box down, and then your controller here plugs into this port on the side that I just cut out. So that bumper's pretty stout and also already pretty bent. So I think that's what we're going to use to pull from, and we'll see how she goes, how it looks. We'll get a little tension on this. We'll have to steer it up. Oh, she's flexing. All right. Well, I was going to go close the doors. Don't ever forget to take the temporary fuel jug tank out of the back, too. I don't think the State Patrol would be overly impressed with that. There's a lot of bolts holding that on. I think we're going to go for it. I want this handy just in case things go awry. Looking good so far. A little bit of flex. Put that down there. Coming at you. Oh yeah, we got all the weight on her now. All right, we're gonna need to re-grab this thing a little farther back because the angle here is not great. Let me slam it in gear too, just so we be skidding. Coming in. Cool. Chock the front, so when we let it down, it doesn't try to chase us. Okay. Easy, big fella. Coming down now. Don't pinch these off. It works pretty good though. A little bit of setup and tear down, but look how tight I was able to get it. If I had a toolbox right there, it messed my tongue weight all up. That was the whole kind of idea behind this contraption. Last thing I need to do is show up at the house of the State Patrol and have them give me a ticket for a shitty tie down job. That looks pretty happy. We're going to go to the back and we're going to probably use axle straps and we'll pull against it. Hello. All right. We're going to try to do the same thing. Cross our straps. Okay, so one thing I hate is the loose tails everywhere. There's lots of ways to go about that. I always like to give her a little jam knot, but then if I have any extra, I just kind of lay it up like this nice. And you can use zip ties or whatever. I found electrical tape's the easiest, and I just kind of loop it together. That way it's not dragging on the ground, blowing in the wind. I saw a dude at Harbor Freight yesterday that had a ratchet strap hanging out of his truck. He was backing up and he backed over it. Boy, did he stop fast. Everything just came to a screaming halt. I think that's it for today. I'll keep you guys updated with how it goes at the State Patrol office. But for now, I'm going to clean up my tools, back this back in the yard a little bit so I can close my gate. We're going to call it a day. Well, boys,
We just got back from our inspection. We officially have license plates and registration. We are as legal as they get. That's going to do it for this episode. Please, please, please like and subscribe. Me and Graham are going to get this thing off the trailer. Next time we see you, we're doing brakes again. This is not right, buddy. You want to help me get it off the trailer? Not really? They're blocking me in here. All right, let's go. Okay.